So Bayern Munich, we just got that 1-0 win over PSG in the Champions League, and I'll be going through the tactics Nagelsmann played, but also why I was quite unhappy with the performance despite a 1-0 win in the Champions League over PSG. It seems like it's good, but I'm not sure that it was. I think it might have been a bit of a wasted opportunity, and I was very unhappy about one thing, which I'll talk about in the end. But let's just get straight into these tactics, then I'll have some picture analysis to back them up, and then I'll go on my little rant. So, Bayern versus PSG, we lined up in this 3-1-4-2 type of formation, but instead of Muller at cam, it was Musiala, and I'm very unhappy about this, because Muller makes everyone better. I'll talk about this more at the end, but Sané and Musiala in this game were ineffective, because in those central areas, it was too narrow, it was too congested. They should have been far on the wing. They should have had Muller there, providing them with his Raumdeutering, which creates space for them, but this wasn't the case, and I was very upset about that. So it meant Musiala was stuck in the centre. It meant Sané often couldn't dribble past the players. The PSG played the 4-4-2 in the first half, but it made it very congested in the centre. So Musiala and Sané, in my opinion, should have been further out wide. One of Nagelsmann's key tactics, though, in this game was really overloading those wing-backs. So you'd have Coman pushing forward, like here, Cancelo pushing forward, Musiala and Sané being in the box. And so it'd be these 5 attackers in the box. So if Coman got the ball on the wing here, then he'd be aiming for Choupo, Musiala or Sané in the box, and Goretzka would also be coming up. But this often meant, because PSG were playing a very narrow setup in their defence, which was a bit shambolic from their coach Gatlier, it meant that Cancelo was always open for the Coman cross, or if Cancelo had the ball, Coman was always open, and this is how Bayern scored the goals. So I'll talk about this in the pictures. It was this overloading, and because PSG were playing a really weird, really narrow setup, it always meant the wing back on the other side, because they were darting forward, was open, and this is how we scored. Davies had the ball, Coman was wide open, Davies crosses it, Coman scores. So I'll be talking a bit about that. I thought Goretzka was actually quite good in midfield with Kimmich, because he had a 2-man midfield with Kimmich, and he provided defensive cover, because in our defensive shape, we were playing a 3-5-2 formation, so it was Choupo and Sané up top, Coman, Cancelo, they were pressing high, but it meant that because Goretzka was included in the team, even though I would rather have had Muller there, and maybe Musiala moved back to the Goretzka role, at least Goretzka was providing that defensive cover. At least he was able to help shield defense, because if Musiala was just there, then it might not have been a shielded defense. We might not have been able to stop the PSG counterattacks so much. So this worked, and this 3-5-2 press did work, but PSG were also... It was a mixture of it worked, but also PSG were very ineffectual, because PSG played the 4-4-2, but because PSG had Neymar and Messi up front, it meant that Kimmich, Goretzka, Pavard, Upamecano, when we got the ball, all these players could just push high up forward, because Messi and Neymar, the front two of PSG, were not even pressing, we're not stopping. There was one moment in the game where Neymar just went on a wild goose chase press, and that showed how disorganized the system was. And effectively, PSG are playing with 9 men when in defense, because Messi might just be where Upamecano, I've dragged him here, and Upamecano is actually here. So Pavard, Upamecano under no pressure, Kimmich under no pressure, and that meant that Coman, Cancelo can really push up high, because Goretzka, Kimmich are pushing up high, because De Ligt, Upamecano, Pavard are pushing up high, and also because the time on the ball, Pavard could easily hit those long switches to Coman, De Ligt to Cancelo. And so even though it seems like Bayern played well, maybe it was just bad tactics from PSG, maybe it was just laziness from Neymar and Messi, which stopped Bayern. And it was very telling when Mbappe came on, when it actually gave the PSG game plan some impetus, in the fact that they could actually play these long balls now. They could actually beat our 3-5-2 press, because once Musiala, Coman, Cancelo, Choupo, Sané, once the front 5 are beaten, then we have very open gaps in the defense. You see here, it would say these 5 players were beaten when they'd pushed up high and the ball had gone into midfield in some area like this area. Then you see there's gaps in behind Pavard, like where my cursor is. You see there's gaps between De Ligt and Upamecano, and Mbappe was finding these gaps. One interesting tactical thing to note was De Ligt moved to the center, Upamecano moved to the right, and Pavard moved to the left when Mbappe came on. And I think this was because Upamecano is stronger, he's more physical, so he was more able to be in tune with Mbappe. But even still, there were still gaps in this area. Upamecano was still beaten for pace, and because we didn't have a flat back four, it was really dangerous, and PSG really should have scored. They scored 2 offside goals, 1 offside goal, which was really close, and they kept getting in behind, so Nagelsmann will need to change something for the second leg. And this is why I'm not sure if this was a good Bayern performance or if PSG were just really bad, but let's get into some of the things I just talked about in my pictures. So, you see here that Bayern have this 3-5-2 high press. So it was Choupo-Moting and Sane as the front two. Musiala was the number 10, Cancelo, and then Davies. You see a clear 5-man press. And this is what I was talking about. Say Davies might have to go to this man sometimes. If PSG could break the press, say get the ball to Verratti here, then they would just be faced with like a 6-on-5 situation or a good attacking opportunity. But to be fair, the press did work well. You see Bayern players very close to their man, so it was quite hard for PSG to play out the press. But when Mbappe came on, of course, they got that option to go long. So Bayern might need to change things, make the press less aggressive. Or if someone like Muller was conducting the press, it might be even better for Bayern. And then this is what I was talking about with the overloads that Bayern Munich were using all game. So in the game, you see here, Davies is at left back, Cancelo is at right back, and it meant that, you see, because the PSG defense four were so narrowly placed, it meant that there was always someone free. So in this case, it was Davies, and this was the Bayern strategy to overload the box. You have 2 men in the box, but also 2 men lingering around the box, and therefore in the wide areas there was always 1 man free. And this happened again in this situation, which you can clearly see. In this situation, the ball came into Choupo-Moting, and Choupo-Moting had a good chance to score. But because the PSG defense, this was the right back, and these were the 4 defenders, look how narrow they are, and look, because Bayern have overloaded this box with these 3 attacking players, Goretzka, Musiala, Choupo-Moting, and also Davies. So there's 3 attackers in the box. That means the other 3 defenders of PSG are preoccupied. The wing back who's making the cross is occupying the left back or right back, and then that leaves the other wing back who's bombed forward wide open in space. So Cancelo could have been found here. And this is actually a bit similar to Netherlands in the World Cup, where we saw those crosses between the wing backs, but it meant that was where Bayern's bulk of attacking play came from. And we also saw that, in the goal, because in the goal, this is what happened. Same situation. Look how narrow these 4 defenders are. These attackers occupying PSG's attention, and then Davies just hits a ball into Coman, and Coman strikes it. But while this is good tactics, it's also just terrible defending from PSG. This man could easily be here, this man here, this man here. PSG were just defending way too narrow, and they weren't taking into account of this. This is the 52nd minute, but this has been happening for all 52 minutes of the game. So PSG really should have addressed this, and if they had addressed this, then maybe Bayern wouldn't have scored. I'm not sure that Bayern had much attacking impetus outside of this tactic, because with this tactic, yes, it does leave the wing back free, but these players are all marked in the box. There's no interplays. There's very little runs in behind. They're just static in the box. I'm not sure that it was really an amazing tactic. But I think something to talk about also is Neymar and Mbappe. As I said, Neymar and Mbappe were really lazy. You see Messi, not Neymar, Mbappe. Messi and Neymar. You see Messi is right here. He's just standing. Neymar is not really doing anything. And this is what I was talking about. It allowed our midfield to get control. Kimmich could always get on the ball. You see here, Pavard has a free opportunity to just hit the ball into the space for Coman, because that front 2, a 4-4-2 system only works if those 2 strikers are still pressing, and they weren't pressing for PSG. So Pavard has an easy full time on the ball. Kimmich had full time on the ball, so we could really control the team. So I don't think this is good Bayern tactics, though. It's more just PSG being shambolic and abysmal. And I think you see here, it shows it, because you see Danilo, the CDM, is the one who has to press Pavard because Neymar and Messi are not doing their job. So I think just because I think this is a case of not Bayern being good, but PSG being bad in this game in general. Furthermore, you see PSG were really slow initially before Mbappe came on. When Mbappe came on, PSG were the better team than Bayern, and that shows maybe deficiencies in Bayern tactics. That shows that maybe Bayern weren't playing that well, but PSG were just playing really badly. And you see, PSG got into these positions in the first half. It's like a 3-on-3 position, but because Messi and Neymar were their two attackers quite old now, they're not the fastest they used to be. They were unable to get in behind Bayern's defense, but they had opportunities to get in behind Bayern's defense. Like this is a very dangerous situation. If this is Mbappe, maybe Mbappe scores, but because it's not, they didn't score. But I'm very worried for the second leg if we play the similar defensive setup, because PSG could easily get behind multiple times, and this was also due to the Bayern, the crazy high line that was being employed by Bayern at times in this game. You see that all Bayern players are just maybe 10 yards after the center circle, and when Mbappe is on, it means that these balls in behind, they are so dangerous. This led to one of the PSG goals, which was ruled offside, I think, because Mbappe was finally just narrowly offside in this instant. But if we're playing like this, and especially against Mbappe, we're playing Upamecano, but Upamecano was sometimes in the central, so it was sometimes the wing-back, which was Coman, but later Gnabry marking Mbappe, and that's such a terrible tactic, because Gnabry got caught square multiple times, and the ball went in behind that Upamecano-Gnabry trifecta multiple times, so it's a really dangerous tactic, and I think it was very poor, and Bayern will concede in the second leg, and this is something I need to talk about also, is that, yes, there were these large defensive gaps. You see here, when Pavard got his red card, there's another big defensive gap, because it is a back three system. It's not as tight as a back four system, and especially against a front three, if it's a true back three, you see the front three are all marked by defender. There's no spare defender, so maybe we need to revert back to a four at the back, have Alphonso Davies, Cancelo at right back, and they can really deal man mark Mbappe, man mark Messi, and then that will leave one of the central defenders free in order to be able to deal with these PSG attackers. But now, apart from these things I mentioned, so I think in this game it showed that Bayern Munich were not that good. We played a decent system. Nagelsmann got some things right. He got the wing-backs crossing to each other right. He got the press right, especially in the first half where we dominated. But there is the feeling, I get the feeling that we could have scored much more because PSG were just that bad, especially in the first half. And once Mbappe came on, they were dangerous. So this tie is far from over. And also the subs from Nagelsmann were very poor. Gnabry coming on. As I said, Gnabry marking Mbappe, it doesn't work. And maybe we should have shifted to a back four where they could really focus more attention on Mbappe and leave a spare defender behind. If Upamecano is there behind to sweep, then he could help provide support if Mbappe was dribbling, for example. But also, Muller for Choupo-Moting. What is Nagelsmann thinking? Because Muller needs Choupo-Moting and Choupo-Moting needs Muller. There was a reason why the attack didn't work in this game, and that's because Thomas Muller was not playing, and Nagelsmann seems to not realize this, but this will get him sacked, I'm sure, because if Nagelsmann continues not to play Muller, we're going to continue to lose, because the attack is ineffectual. You saw Musiala, Sane, ineffectual, Choupo-Moting, ineffective, because Muller was not there to create the space. This was the game crying for Muller, where there was so much space in and around the box, where if Muller came in, then Musiala and Sane could go wider, and they would have more room to roam and more room to play passes in. So it was a real mistake, and even though we got the win, I don't think that it was a good performance from Bayern. I think it was a massive error to not include Muller in this team. But also, talking about the subs, I said the Gnabry sub was bad. The Davies sub was good because it provided that recovery pace. But Muller for Choupo-Moting makes no sense because Muller is not good as a striker. He's not a big physical presence. He's not strong. He's not fast anymore. But when Muller and Choupo-Moting are partnered together, they provide the perfect foil to each other. It creates more space for both of them, creates an additional target man in the box. So it makes no sense for Muller to be competing with Choupo-Moting. Muller should be in that attacking midfield position. And we saw in this game, Musiala was in the attacking midfield position, but he didn't have that much joy. And I think that's because there is a bit less space in the attacking midfield position. He's better slightly to the left, slightly to the right, and when Muller is with him, partnering him, because he provides so much more space to the Bayern teammates. So, anyway, overall, I thought that we got the win, so it's good. We'll have good chances of moving to the next round. But I think this was a disappointing performance, even, I would say. I think because PSG were so bad, we could have really put the tie to bed. We could have really suffocated them and scored more goals. Thomas Muller should have played. It was very... some of the tactics left a lot to be desired from Nagelsmann, and we'll see how we get on in the Bundesliga. But I was very disappointed by some of what Nagelsmann did. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, like and goodbye.